Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our legislative update webinar with Senator Bill Cassidy. I can see a number of people are filing into the webinar, so I'm just going to give it a minute or so, and then we'll get started. We're excited to have the Senator here today with us. All right. Like we know, our numbers have slowed down, so I'm gonna, for the sake of time, get right into it. Want to welcome everyone for joining us today to this very exciting opportunity. My name is Perry Scholes. I serve as the Vice Chair for the New Orleans Regional Black Chamber on the Board of Directors, and I'm also the Chair of the Programming Committee. On behalf of the board and staff of NORBCC, I want to thank Senator Bill Cassidy for allotting time in his busy schedule to join us today. And just to provide some background information, last month, NORBCC wrote a letter to Senator Cassidy commending him for his vote during the February 2020 impeachment trial, when he bravely voted for the impeachment of the former president. We invited the senator to come and talk to us today, not only because of the historic vote, but also importantly to give us an update on the $1.9 trillion stimulus package and how it impacts Black businesses particularly, and businesses in the New Orleans region. So I'm really excited and happy to turn it over to Senator Cassidy and let him speak to us about his remarks. Later on, we'll have our Executive Director, Laverne Toombs, come in and moderate the Q&A session. And we also have a number of staff members from the Senator's office who will also be here to help us with questions. So without any further ado, Senator Cassidy, it's extremely warm welcome, and we're thrilled to have you here with us today.
Hey, Perry, thank you very much. Thank you all for being on. I appreciate it. I appreciate you for creating economic opportunity for people in the greater New Orleans area. My family moved from Chicago to Baton Rouge because my dad, frankly, was looking for work. And a fellow in River Ridge called him and said, Jim, you can move down here and you can get a job selling something, insurance, as it turns out, to the people that work in the plants. Because somebody created an opportunity by building that manufacturing. A man's life was changed by bringing his family to Baton Rouge, and I'm now a US Senator. That is the power of the opportunity that you create. Not just for the person you employ, but for the person's future generations. And so I say this with all sincerity. Thank you for the economic opportunity you are creating for people in our community. So with that said, how can I, as a senator, make your job easier? Put differently, I want us to both be successful. You successful in your business, and as you grow your business, somebody else has that future that I described for my family. And then if I've done my job in that regard, then I feel pretty good about myself as well. And that's kind of what this talk will center around. So what are some things? First, let's just say, clearly the pandemic has been a major kind of punch in the gut for a city like New Orleans, which depends upon tourism. Now, you can see that Congress over the past year has supported the American family, either through unemployment checks enhancement, through direct payments, through SNAP payments, through forbearance of loans and forbearance of mortgages. Now, if you're a landlord, you may not like that. You're thinking, I haven't been getting paid for my rent. One thing I can say is in the last package, we made it so the landlord who was not being paid could go back and get from the federal government the money that he or she was missing because the tenants were not able to pay. On the other hand, we do see this general support has kind of floated the boat for the economy as people spent more, sales tax revenue rose. Not in every parish or every city, but most of the parishes and towns and cities in Louisiana have actually seen a tax revenue increase. Now, since you oftentimes are going to be in the service industry, not a restaurant, but something else, that has been something which hopefully has benefited your business. Indeed, because of the December COVID package, the Congressional Budget Office estimates that the economy will grow at 4.2% this coming year, which is the highest growth in GDP for quite some time. So that's a good thing. Now, there will be another round of payroll protection plan that's coming out, which is somewhat enhanced for live music or live entertainment venues, as well as for restaurants. So for those who are in those businesses, which are really concentrated in Louisiana and in the New Orleans area in particular, there will be additional help if your industry has been particularly compounded. There are some changes from this round of the payroll protection plan relative to the last round of the payroll protection plan. This one, you're eligible if you have fewer than 300 employees and a drop of 25% in gross revenues of a particular quarter in 2020 relative to the same quarter in 2019. Let me give examples to illustrate that. I live near a small hardware store. He took money in the first PPP program. He was uncertain. He wasn't sure he was going to get through it. Pandemic was hitting, et cetera. He did business like crazy. He's never done so much business. A lot of folks are like my wife. We couldn't travel. We couldn't go to restaurants. We couldn't do anything. So she painted 5 rooms in our house. And the pull through on all the things we've needed to do our painting, our garden, you name it, has actually helped businesses like the hardware store. On the other hand, the restaurant right next door to the hardware store is out of business. So there's been different impacts upon different segments of our economy. So the hardware store would not qualify for the second round of PPP because that hardware store did so well this past year. The restaurant clearly has had a decrease in revenue year over year, and should it decide to reopen, let me put it this way, let's assume it hadn't gone out of business, but just was doing less well, then he would have qualified. And it doesn't even have to be 2019 versus 2020, because obviously first quarter 2020 probably wasn't bad for folks. It could be fourth quarter 2020 compared to fourth quarter 2019. If there is a 25% decrease in that 2020 receipts, then that owner would qualify for a second round of PPP. Now, by the way, if any of you have a hard time with this regulation, feel free to contact my office. Ron Anderson is on the call here, but we will make ourselves available. Ron's email address is Ron, R-O-N, _ Anderson at cassidy.senate.gov. Senate like the United States Senate. So Ron _ Anderson at cassidy.senate.gov. Ron's fantastic. He's going to know the regulations. He's going to tell you, you're working with the bank, but if you have some holdup, he can still give you assistance. And we have other people in the office who can assist as well. But I mean, just to give you that, there's also money for testing, and there's also money for vaccinations. We're trying to get the economy reopened by trying to control the pandemic. Now, there is another COVID relief package which is going through right now, which is a $1.9 trillion bill. That will have more direct payments for individuals. It was going to have a $15 minimum wage increase, but that has been removed. I hear from employers they are concerned that they cannot hire people. Put it this way, if you're a Medicaid home health provider and your Medicaid payment is fixed at a certain amount and you have to increase your wage basis, then you can't absorb that. You've got a fixed income and you've got increased expense. So I have heard from folks. On the other hand, there will probably be a push to increase the minimum wage to some point going forward, we have two Republicans, one very fiscally minded, Mitt Romney, one very conservative all the way around, Tom Cotton. They're also floating a gradual increase in minimum wage. So you have both parties proposing. So I wouldn't be surprised if that occurs, but I don't think it'll occur in this package. A lot of this $1.9 trillion amount of money will not be spent this year because Congress has appropriated so much money already. It just can't get spent this year. So it does seem as if there will be dollars going out over the next couple years, maybe even the next 3, that is going to come from this $1.9 trillion package. Some of this will go to schools. Some of this will go to universities, and I say school K through 12 as well as universities, but there will be a continued sort of influx of federal dollars into economies that will have a stimulatory effect. There is a concern that this might ignite inflation. And some of this concern is from Democratic economists such as Larry Summers and Jason Furman. We have to hope that doesn't occur, but I can tell you the package is going to happen no matter what. It's going to occur. It will also include more money for handling the pandemic, not just the money for more vaccinations and more testing, but probably for more research as regards what to do if the coronavirus mutates and we need to gin up manufacturing capacity again to produce more vaccine or even a significantly different vaccine. So there will be some more money for that. Xavier is a treasure within our city and state. And I've worked with a senator from Hawaii to get more money to Xavier and historically Black colleges and universities to try and promote the next generation of African-American researchers. I think that's important. We got to have that opportunity. We know there's a lot of talent out there, but the talent needs to be developed. And this is one way to help develop talent, which otherwise may not have seen that opportunity. It comes to mind, I am a doctor, as you might know, and there's a young man who comes from a family which is not well off, has never gone to college before. The parents may not have a high school education. He would like to go to med school. And so I was talking with him and I realized that B he's getting in his math course, his family is proud of him. I told him, if you're getting a B in your freshman year in math at LSU, you may not be competing with the pre-meds because they're getting A's in those classes. So part of it is recognizing that we have potential among young people, but unless they understand where they have to bring, what level they have to bring their potential to, they may not reach the first threshold upon advancing their career. So what we're attempting to do with Xavier would be to encourage the development, the challenge, the environment that would let some young person know what she or he has to do to really go to the next level. I've got, aside from Ron, who's my appropriations person, I also have Tim Carlton, who does both labor issues as well as does education issues. So Perry, I'd love to take some questions from y'all. I thank you again for having me. I thank you for all the work you do. Communities thrive when everybody has a seat at the table. And so I just want to make sure that everybody in my cities has a seat at the table.
Senator, thank you for your comments. We have our Executive Director, Laverne Toombs, with us, and she's going to moderate those questions for us. So thank you very much for your comments. Hi, Laverne, how are you today?
I'm good, Mr. Scholes, and good afternoon, Senator. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
It's good to see you.
Yes, ma'am. To you.
We do have a couple of questions, and I'll start with, what do you need to vote yes for the SSBCI bill in front of the Senate, which will provide capital for small businesses?
I'm not familiar with that bill in particular. So it's hard for me to comment on that. So obviously we have historically low tax rates, and the Small Business Administration has been given more money than they've ever had in order to lend to small businesses to get them through the pandemic, et cetera. Part of the $908 billion bill that I was one of 10 Republicans who helped get passed this past Congress had funding specifically for minority-owned businesses to help them overcome their challenges. So I'm sympathetic to that. I'm not sure I'm familiar with this exact bill, though.
Okay. What I can do is I'll forward it to one of your staff and maybe they can look into it a little bit further.
Okay.
The next question is, how can we work with your office to make sure our businesses get their fair share of federal B contracts? I would assume that's veteran contracts from the federal government and from entities that the federal dollars.
Yes, Rachel Perez is my district director down in the New Orleans area. Invite Rachel over. I don't know if she's been vaccinated yet, but somehow the stronger the relations we have, the more you feel like, hey, I can call Ron Anderson. It's 3 a.m, but I'm sure he's awake. The more we have that relationship, the more we can help you. We have a fellow in our Baton Rouge office, Michael Eby, who does grants. Again, we have Ron Anderson and Tim Carlton who are looking out for appropriations and are looking out for education. We have somebody that does VA benefits. And I see that Tim just posted Rachel Perez's email address. The more you let us know, what's coming down the pike, the more we can work with you. And it's my commitment to you that we will.
Well, thank you, Senator. Appreciate that. I have a couple of more questions. One, this one says, Louisiana got only $300 per person for COVID relief bill. Wyoming got $2,000 per person, and so did Vermont. How do we make sure we don't get shortchanged again?
If you're talking about the total amount the state received divided by the number of people that live there, that may be where that statistic came from. If you look at the absolute dollars, Louisiana probably got, I don't know, 4 billion and Vermont got 1.25. The reason they got more is that every state gets at least a certain amount. So I'm told that in the upcoming COVID package that Vermont will get 1.25 billion again. Just nobody lives in Vermont. And so it's like, I'm surprised they're only getting $400 a person. It feels like they should be getting $1 million a person. California is going to get $41 billion. Okay, so Vermont gets 1.25, California gets 41. On a per capita basis, probably Vermont will get more than California because California has 31 million people or 35 million people. So part of that is just a function of those smaller states getting a certain amount no matter what. Now, on the other hand, aside from the minimal amount that every state gets, there's other amounts that are allocated per population. And on those, Louisiana will get more than Vermont will. But that's just a function of the formulas that are being drafted. This latest formula, unfortunately, this latest bill is a strictly Democratic bill. They've not asked Republicans for any input. So if there is a problem with the formula in this upcoming bill, Cedric Richmond may be able to help you, but that they have just literally not asked Republicans for any input.
Okay, well, thank you for that answer. The next question is, what do you think of the Green New Deal in the House and how will you vote when it comes to the Senate?
So the Green New Deal has opportunity for Louisiana. I just got off, just before this Zoom call, off a phone call with a Deputy Secretary of Energy, the candidate. He's very good. On the one hand, the Green New Deal, if that attempts to say that the United States and Louisiana should not develop oil and gas. One, it's terrible policy. Instead of us producing it, the Russians will, with their environmental standards, not ours. And it will kill a lot of jobs in our state. Not just those who are working in the oil and gas industry, but the people that, like my dad, who moved down here to work selling insurance to the people who work in the oil and gas industry. On the other hand, if there's a recognition that we need to continue to produce domestic oil and gas, but we're going to attempt to do it in a way which lowers its carbon footprint, and perhaps to take that natural gas and to transform it into hydrogen. So we still are producing our own gas, but there is a use of that in a way which furthers the goal of lowering our carbon footprint, then it could work for us. And so that's what I'm attempting to do, is to take this initiative on their part, and as it comes forward, make sure that it not only that it does several things, including preserving the jobs for our families, but also meets the goals of lowering carbon footprint so that we can get the whole thing passed through.
Okay. Do you have time for one more question, Senator?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So this constituent states, Senator, we appreciate your time with us today. I have been trying to connect with members of your staff for several weeks. I am up for an appointment representing Louisiana on the new Urban Agriculture Advisory Committee. This is important for food and farming business in our state, and I'm hoping for your support on this, as I have dozens of letters from around Louisiana putting me forward, including the LDAF and LSU Ag. If you could please connect me with Ron, which is on, and James Quinton and other current leading your agriculture portfolio, I would appreciate it. And nominations close March 6th.
So Ron Anderson, you now have his email address. Email him right away. We will review, and we'd love to support you.
So another constituent question, can we also ask Senator Cassidy about how we can support college students by doubling the maximum Pell Grants? This will help our state and nation produce more college graduates in a time that the college affordability gap is high and the Pell Grants no longer have the purchasing power that it used to. The working population who has more than high school education with less impact by unemployment and the pandemic. Additionally, a degree is the surest way to economic mobility, better health, more job security, and civic engagement.
So there's a lot of effort to both increase the Pell Grants, but also make them more useful, as well as to redo the college loan program. The college loan program, as we all know, is complicated. The repayment is complicated. Tim Carlton is my subject matter expert. He's on the call. So hopefully we've been trying to get a reauthorization of the Higher Education Act through for the last few years. It's been difficult to achieve. We've got some things done that have clearly benefited Louisiana. For example, some loan forgiveness for historically Black colleges and universities, as one example. But the redoing of the financial aspect of it is a work in progress. I'm hoping we can achieve that this Congress.
Okay. From Mr. Troy Henry, who happens to be one of the largest Black employers in New Orleans, state the fact that, however, due to the quirk in my circumstances, my bank and SBA rep agreed that I should be approved again. However, the law didn't consider my unique circumstance. Can I work with Ron Anderson to help get the program modified so that I can qualify?
Absolutely. Those are the kind of calls we like to get, because then we can hopefully work through it with SBA, or if there's future programs, make sure that the regulations, if you will, bring somebody in as opposed to pushing them out. And that is our goal for those folks who have legitimate needs, to bring them in.
Okay. The next question, sir, is states need increased funding for high quality early child and education to ensure all citizens can return to work. Our ECE providers have been hit hard in this pandemic, and there are small businesses that serve all businesses. What funding will be made available to states to help expand the ECE programming for our hardworking families?
Tim, this is, I think when you say ECE, early child is what I'm,
Good education.
yeah, if it's below K, there's all kinds of money for K. There's about $10 billion in the 908 package, in the December package for childcare and early child education, if I remember correctly. There is a lot of money coming down the pike. You cannot believe the sums of money coming. And so check with Tim on that. And also Ron will have a sense for that. Laverne, I am having to bump to my next call because I can hear the door opening behind me. So my scheduler telling me to go. But Tim and Ron could answer some other questions. I'm assuming they have the ability to stay on. And there's,
Yes, they do.
um, uh, and so I'll turn it over to their capable hands. I thank you again for the invitation to speak with you.
And thank you very much, Senator. We really appreciate taking time out of your busy schedule. As a former staffer, I understand how busy you are as well as your staff. So thank you. And one of the things before you get off, I would like to do another webinar with your staff so that constituents can understand how to navigate your office and to know exactly the types of services that you provide.
Rachel,
So I'll get with
Perez.
Rachel.
Yes.
I will get with Rachel on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Laverne. See you, Perry.
Tim and Ron.
Yes.
I understand that I have a question here, or more of a question comment, and I think it's for Tim. I understand it's from Miss Washington. She said, I'm meeting with Tim on Friday regarding college affordability. She says, hi, can you reply to my email regarding our meeting?
Yeah, absolutely.
The next question is a quick comment on the threat to Medicare and to Medicaid expansion. You want to elaborate on that?
Well, I mean, I don't think, there's going to be any threat to Medicare and Medicaid expansion on this bill. In fact, those efforts in this bill, obviously, they're going to expand some of the Medicare provisions, and some of the provisions in the healthcare bill are going to be expanded to allow it to encourage more Medicaid expansion. I mean, obviously, that's a state decision on whether you participate in Medicaid expansion or not. And Louisiana, of course, is involved in that. So the resources in the COVID package coming up is not going to impact Medicare or Medicaid expansion at all.
Okay, thank you. I have another question that says, speaking on the flavored cigarettes and vapor products that have harmed the health of African Americans for decades through the targeted practices of tobacco companies. What is the senator's position on that?
Well, we're not the subject experts on that, but I know that there's been rules, regulations at the FDA that have been prohibiting the release of these targeted cigarettes to underage students, and to put strict limitations on their marketing and regulatory practices, because they have been shown to cause substantial health care impacts on minority and on low and young folks. So that is going to continue to be something that we monitor closely to make sure that there's not going to be that there are strict controls and oversight over these products, because if they're causing damage to the environment and everything else, then and hurtful to individuals, we'd have to put some guidelines, restrictions, just like we do with cigarettes, and we have been moving in that direction.
So we don't have any more questions, but I would like to ask you and Tim to kind of give an overview. Well, I've said that we didn't have any more questions and one popped up. So how will the senator vote on the bill that seeks to repeal the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset when it gets to the Senate, and why?
Yeah, good question. So Senator Cassidy last Congress was a co-sponsor of the Sherrod Brown bill that would address this issue. So we've been focused very, very closely on it. I just recently kind of took over this portfolio, so I'm still getting up to speed on it. But I do know that the senator is supportive of fixing that and righting that wrong and that issue. So we're fully aware of it, and we appreciate your support.
So that was the last question that I have right now. But what I would like to ask either one of you, if you can just share with our viewers exactly what is your subject expertise so that they know exactly what they can come to you and ask about. So Tim, we'll start with you.
Great, thanks. So I as Senator Cassidy said, I primarily focus on education and labor. And in the senator's office, I've been getting a little bit more involved in retirement, and I've been doing pensions for a while, going back now. You know, my real focus and my expertise is in the higher education space, and questions about, you know, we've talked a lot about college affordability. I know there was a question about the Pell Grant and whether the Pell Grant still pays for as much as it did historically, and what can be done to increase that. You know, we are also very focused on right now we're very focused on the school reopening question that I think most families are struggling with. It's a difficult subject, and it's a tough one, but we're trying to come at it from a vantage point of following the science and giving parents the ability to do what's best for their family and for their children. So that's really my main focus. You know, I've been helping out a lot with the reconciliation bill and with the December COVID relief package. Senator Cassidy, you know, was a real champion in making sure we got that relief through at the end of last Congress in December, and making sure that, you know, as the outgoing administration was, you know, focused on their things, that we've still focused on getting the work done of providing relief to Louisiana and the rest of the country. And it was just a wonderful opportunity to work on that important project with the senator.
And Tim, are you from Louisiana?
I'm not.
Okay.
No,
We know Ron isn't. But
I'm not from New England either. New York and New England. People think I'm from there, but I'm not. So
I just asked that question. I asked that question because people, a lot of times when you know, members have staffers that ask if they're from Louisiana, because you have a better understanding of some of the issues. But of course, your constituents will bring you up to speed quite quickly.
Yeah, and I gotta say, you know, I'm from Southern California. Before working for Senator Cassidy, I worked for someone from Wisconsin. And before that, from California. I have grown to love the state. I sent, you know, one of my favorite parts about my job, truthfully, is, you know, getting to learn about the history of the HBCUs in the state. I had a chance to go visit Xavier and talk with President Verrett there, and really get to know them over the last 2 years. And it's been a real blessing in my life to just, you know, learn about the state, about everything there. I really love it. So, you know, I emailed President Verrett the other day. I saw Xavier got a new baseball team, which I just thought was so awesome. I'm a huge baseball fan, and emailed him, let him know that we're rooting them on here from here in DC, and hope they do well.
Well, I surely hope that you have an opportunity to visit our other HBCUs, especially here in New Orleans. We have Grambling State University, we have Southern University of Baton Rouge, New Orleans, as well as Sussex and Shreveport. We have Dillard University. So I hope that you will have that opportunity to go visit them as well. Ron,
we were able to. I was just going to say so I'm connected with a higher ed group here in Washington D.C. and over the summer last year, when everything was closed down and all the schools were trying to figure out how they were going to reopen, they did a president series with college presidents. And I was able to get Dr. Kimbrough at Dillard to be one of the 5 or 6 speakers here, because he's such a leader in the industry and with schools. And he was hands down the best speaker we had. So and the perspective that he brought. So it was great.
Dr. Kimbrough gave a very complimentary to your boss on LinkedIn a couple of days ago. You may want to look it up, but he did mention the work that Senator Cassidy is doing. And so you may want to check it out. Ron, I know that you've been with the senator quite some time. And so a couple of things in regards to what you do, but also if you would talk about the regional office, because again, People want to know who those people are. We talked about Rachel, who I know personally, but all the other folks, where your offices are located, as well as any phone numbers of those point of contacts in the state.
All right, well, yeah, people don't know me. I'm Ron Anderson. I've been with the Senate since he moved over to the Senate side. I've been on Capitol Hill, over 25 years, so closer to 30. So I've been around for a while. I handle his appropriations issues, anything to do with federal funding, including education, healthcare funding. I've worked with, on HBCUs as well. I do all his agriculture. I do his a lot of his infrastructure work. I do his defense work. I do his housing work. I do his FEMA work. I do his Corps of Engineers work. And anyway, anything to do with grant funding, and I obviously do his small business work. So anything to do with grant issues or federal funding for various agency programs, I'm involved too. And bringing that back to the staff level, we have our staff is based out of Baton Rouge, is our primary staff location, and Brian McNabb is our state staff director, and so he would be the initial point of contact. And then we have, depending on the issue area, we have Michael Eby, who would do his small business administration, small business grant, appropriation grant, any grant requests that you want to do. He also does FEMA transportation issues. Getting you a contact information as we speak from the phone numbers for our district staff. Basically is they'll if you want to be any casework issue goes through our staff in the Louisiana office, and the Baton Rouge main line is 225-929-7711. So so they would be the contact. I mean, obviously we have other person who does, if you have a social security casework, or if you have immigration casework, we have staffers there, Lynn Hopper, Dale Marino, others that would do that. But if you could just reach out to our office there, they can put you in contact with the best folks if you're doing casework issues. Obviously we have staff presence in Rachel Perez, Kathy Stewart, and Wayne Moody are based out of our Metairie office in Louisiana. And if you don't have that number, it's 337-261-1400. So that would be relative. And then obviously we have a Lafayette office, we have a Monroe office, an Alexandria office, and a Shreveport office. I mean, that's probably less relevant for you guys being in New Orleans, but and Monroe as well. I'm sorry. So we have a presence all over the states. So I'm happy if somebody wants to email me and you want access to those contact points of information, I'm happy to share that as well. And
yes, Ron, if you could send that to me directly, I'll send it out to our members and those that are participating today. I also have a question in regards to a nonprofit that applied for their 501c3. I know when I was in the Senate, you all's office could help with expediting that application. Is that still the case?
That should be the case if they I assume they're trying to get a PPP loan, or what are they trying to
No, it's just they're trying to get their 501c3 tax exempt status. They have some grants pending, and I understand that when you apply, that the congressional office can help expedite that.
Yes, we could do that. That would probably be more of a casework issue, but again, I can, if somebody follows up with me, I can make sure that it gets to the right person in a timely manner, so we can expedite that.
Okay, sounds great. I don't know if we have any other questions. Do you all have any closing remarks before we get off? Matter of fact, we'll give everyone some time back. We were supposed to be on till 3:30, unless someone else have any other questions. But Ron or Tim, if you all have any closing remarks, anything that you believe that's coming up that the viewers would need to know.
No, I would just say we are here to help you guys and help the community, the Louisiana community as a whole. And I think there are going to be a lot of opportunities, for minority businesses and folks. I mean, because I think in the infrastructure package. I think a lot of the stuff in the infrastructure package are going to be is going to be moved down to dealing with equity, equality issues, racial justice issues. People have to show, or climate change issues. They're going to have to show that it has some benefit to that aspect of the community when you apply for certain grants. That's going to be part of the criteria now that's being added to a lot of these grants that folks are qualifying for. So whatever we can do to point you in the right direction, that's our job. And I mentioned, Bill wasn't that as familiar, Senator Cassidy wasn't familiar with the SSBCI initiative. I think I mentioned in the remarks is that there is $10 million, in this COVID-19, out of the 1.9 COVID-19 package for SSBCI, and that $10 million, will translate into as up to $100 billion in financing, and a lot of that is going to go to minority-owned businesses. So that is part of this COVID package that is going to pass. Now, as the senator indicated, that's kind of might be passing on a party line vote because of a lot of the extraneous stuff in there. But the SSBCI and small business components in that bill, we 100% support. So just FYI, but we're here to be a resource to you. And so feel free to reach out. We have our contact information, anytime.
Absolutely. And Tim, do you have any closing remarks?
No, I don't have much more to add. We want to be as much of a resource as possible and continue having this dialogue and continue hearing what you all have questions about. This is what we're here for, to try to give you feedback of what's going on here in Washington, D.C. So just appreciate the opportunity, and thanks for reaching out to us and extending the invitation.
Sure, no problem. And I will be reaching out to Rachel. I think it's extremely important that our constituents, or our constituents, as in your constituents, in this region become familiar with who they would be working with, or understand the particular subject matters here in the state. So I'm going to reach out to her to ask for, introduction in regards to your staff, because that's important that people know who Senator Cassidy has in his office and how to work your office. You'd be surprised of a number of people that aren't aware of the services that you all as congressional staffers and the senator has that can work. So thank you so much. And I'm going to, if there aren't any other questions, I just want to say thank you to both of you for joining us today's Straight Talk webinar. Again, they have their emails and email addresses and phone numbers in the chat. I hope that you have taken those down. If not, just reach out to me by email, which is laverne.toombs@nrbchamber.org, and I'll be more than glad to forward that information on to you. Just a little chamber business, and just to say that, of course, our mission has been here for the past 15 years, is to support and promote, educate Black businesses for sustainable growth and expansion within the 10 parish region. So if any of you that are on today and want to become a member of NRBCC, please do not hesitate to contact our office, which is 504-948-0091. Our contact information is right there on the screen. And also, again, just email me directly, or you can check out our website, which is www.nrbchamber.org. Keep in mind, NRBCC continues to be a resource and a voice for Black businesses. So before we end, I just want to remind everyone immediately after this webinar, just please take a few minutes of your time to fill out this survey. Your feedback is extremely important to us. And on behalf of NRBCC Board of Directors and staff, we thank you, and I hope to see you at our next webinar. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Thank you.